start with an opening statement, then we'll go into questions.
Yeah, it's an exciting week. We are taking on LSU, the reigning national champions, in our house, and so we have a lot to be excited about this week. We've learned a ton over the last 4 weeks. We've had, we're 4 meets in. We have 7 regular season meets to go before we head into a postseason run. And, as I look at going into this season, we had a fairly inexperienced team. And there's no way to gain experience until you just get in there and you start practicing in tough moments. And this team has learned a lot over these last 4 weeks. There's been some smoother lessons, there's been some harder lessons. We faced quite a bit of adversity, some that we could control and some that we just couldn't control. And it's all about how you respond, it's all about how you come together, it's all about how you have a we over me mentality, and that's what we're working to drive towards this week, is to really come together as a united team, a united front, with the same mission in mind, and that is to start strong and handle the noise. That continues to be our message, and it's something that we want to get better at every single week, and we've grown a ton in that area, and there's still a few more steps that we need to make before we step into kind of the second part of the season that will take place a couple weeks from now.
Questions?
Do you feel like the pressure's a little ramped up this year? We talked 2 weeks ago about Oklahoma and them joining the SEC, but because of that, only 8 teams are going to make SEC. So do you feel like because of that, the pressure's a little ramped up now to make sure you're putting in, big scores week after week?
Yeah, I definitely think the pressure has ramped up this year. I think for one, having OU join the conference just heightened the intensity, the matchups, the storylines that take place week after week. I think on top of it, going to an SEC format where the bottom team of the SEC gets left out, which is crazy because the bottom team in the SEC could actually win a national championship. And so I think that heightens the pressure. I think social media and just the exposure of our sport has heightened the pressure. You're so much more aware of the highlights and then also the hard moments along the way. I think all of that is a blessing and a curse. It's great for our sport. It's awesome to see gymnastics be at the top of everybody's minds and all over the place. And at the same time, it brings an intense awareness to everything that's going on at all times. And I think it's important to remember that nobody's program is just a highlight reel, right? Everybody's going through their ups and everybody's going through their downs, and you're going to see those come out in different time frames throughout the season. And so for us, we've got to stay in our bubble. We've got to focus on the things that's going to make this team great, Team 50 great, Team 51 great, and ultimately move forward from there.
Coach, you talked about handling the noise in a tough environment down there in Athens, and I think you all did a pretty good job of that. How much encouragement does, almost coming away with it in that tough environment bring now that you're back in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, our competition against Georgia was a really intense matchup, and it was exciting that every rotation we were pretty much neck and neck. We were up at one point, we were down at one point, we continued to rally, continued to be unfazed by the scores that were coming up, the performances that were going on, the energy of the crowd. I think that was a really exciting growth moment to see from this team. Ultimately, there were a couple of routines that didn't quite capitalize, in some critical moments, but we learned from those things. And that's normal. That's part of getting better. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be upset. All those things are fine as long as you take those emotions and channel it into your next steps forward. And that's what this week is for in training. It's not about being perfect. It's about digging into those intense, uncomfortable moments and finding a way to be great in those.
So those tough moments you talk about, how do you guys use those tougher meets and moments to fuel y'all the rest of the season?
I think one of the biggest ways we use them is by talking about it. I think it's really easy to shy away from those things and just hope that they don't happen again. And we have a staff that really believes in teaching the self-awareness to be able to acknowledge the moment and then step into it. So it feels uncomfortable, so it feels intense, so it feels weird, so it feels whatever it is, take what it is and then find a way through it. But finding a way through it sounds so simple. That's a really, really challenging process. And I'm thankful for a long season to be able to kind of navigate those different learning lessons along the way.
Do you feel like that last beam rotation is one of those tough moments to learn from? It was a back and forth meet, that it was an opportunity to like clinching on the road, and then obviously had some struggles, that like that's something that y'all can learn from.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of times championships are going to come down to that final event. And I think our mentality going into the final event was really on point. I think they were aggressive. I think they were pretty calm and confident. And then just didn't quite hit our average. And so that's what we talked about coming back into the gym. Like, how do we make our average go up a little bit? Sometimes you compete slightly above your average, and sometimes you compete slightly below your average. And so if we want our average to come out in those critical moments, then we've got to increase that a little bit, knowing that like you don't have to just be, you know, right at that place. Like you just got to go up there and do what you know how to do.
Couple more?
Coach Gabby ended up getting a career high on beam. What does it mean for her to continue to outdo herself? I know you spoke about some of the inexperienced players kind of stepping up. What does that mean for the morale of the team to see her do that?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to see both freshmen and some returners that are really kind of making their debuts this season. It's exciting to see them step in and contribute the way that they are. I think it's a testament to our whole team seeing the needs on each event and then identifying like, oh, that's up to me. One of the sayings that we talk about is my team's championship is up to me, meaning that like every single person plays a critical role. It doesn't matter if you're an all-arounder, a 3-eventer, a 2-eventer. So Gabby Ladany in that moment, you know, she had to sit around and wait the entire meet until the last event where she had to step up and hit a great routine, and she did that. And that alone goes to show how every single role on the team is absolutely critical to helping us move forward.
How much are lineup spots up for grabs still in practice every week, just kind of heading into each meet? Like, I guess, like, are spots solidified, or are you still at the competition every week among the team?
Lineup spots are always up for grabs, and I think for me that philosophy goes back to probably competing as an athlete. You know, from freshman year till my super senior year, it didn't matter if I had clinched a championship, if I had it didn't matter. From 5 years of experience, every single time you step up there, you've got to do it with the intention of you're competing in the biggest moments. And so that's really how we go about navigating the lineup process. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect every time, but you certainly need to bring the right approach day in and day out so that your team can rely on that consistency, coaches can rely on that consistency. We can never control the outcome, but we can certainly control the approach, bringing a consistent, high-level approach to the team every single day.
Last one?
How important is handling the noise, especially competing against a team like LSU?
Oh my goodness, it's essential, right? It's paramount that we handle the noise. There's a million storylines that we can listen to. They're reigning national champions, right? They've got a lot of athletes on their team that have some really great exposure. You know, there's all sorts of bells and whistles. There's judging discrepancies. There's so many things that can just flood your mind and ultimately just be big distractions in the midst of it all. So it's incredibly important that we handle the noise. We don't let those things control how we move forward. And this is about this team getting better. It's progress, not perfection. We need to continue to break through. Breakthroughs in the gym equal breakthroughs in life. We've got to keep our head down. We've got to focus on the things that we can control. It's not about the win or the loss. It's about us getting better. If we continue to do that and chip away, this team's going to make a really great postseason run.